a whole new normal out here in this world.
Let's say civilization. That's even better.
Civilization. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, it's no problem. It's almost like I've not left, though, to be honest with you. After I gave you 4 days, you acclimate yourself. You try to acclimate yourself pretty quickly back to normal. So I'm happy about being out.
That's
You don't want
fact.
to be there.
I'm
You don't want to.
I'm listening to you while I'm watching to see if this has gone live yet. And I think it has. Just 1 second while I would check on Facebook. I don't want to get discombobulated.
There's no problem.
1 second, my dear. We are live. And so I'm going to turn this camera back on to you as soon as I figure out what I'm doing. Here we go. So I'm holding you up to the Zoom screen and they can see you. And I don't know if you see my Facebook post, but you're on my Facebook wall and you can feel free to share it, Kermit, if you want on your page or share it later.
You know, you know what? I'll share and just give you the information because I had so many people that I'm trying to get back to, but I'll do it. I'll share it. No problem.
Thank you so much. You folks here at Comic Spot, come on in and have a seat. One of my personal heroes here is Kermit Washington today. I'm sure you know the name. He's played on every good NBA basketball team, including the Portland Trailblazers. I'm putting them in that category for right now. You actually got to start with my Portland Trailblazers. They let you be on the starting team. So that was...
I was fortunate. Yes, I was a starter all the time there. I never came off the bench. I was a starter there in Portland, yeah.
Yes, I've been rooting for the Trailblazers for my entire life, mostly.
But we're talking about a long time ago, though. We're talking about 1979 to probably I played for 3 years for them. 79, 80, 81, 82. So.
Yes, that's amazing. And then you opened a restaurant in Portland. You co-owned
it. You know what? I was in Vancouver. That's one of the big mistakes of my life. I didn't know how hard it was to have a restaurant. And that's one of my failures in life, realizing how difficult it was to have a restaurant.
It is so hard.
It is.
Yes, I've been fired from more waitress jobs than anybody on the planet. Waitressing and restaurant work is tough.
It is. It's very, well, especially if you own it, very tough because you have 20 or 30 employees that you count on to get things done. And sometimes their motivation is not the same as your motivation.
Yes. Can we go back to your motivation early in life, going from where you grew up and you had not an easy childhood, and then you made it to the NBA? I want to talk about the motivation you must have had.
Well, here's the thing. You have to realize, though, that very few people back when I was born in 1951 were doing well, especially if you're a person of color.
Yes.
You know, you probably were struggling. Back then, it was still segregation in the sense where, you know, there were bathrooms for blacks and for whites. The blacks into the bus. We weren't allowed in a lot of movie theaters, swimming pools, amusement parks, a lot of things. So, but it was a natural thing, which wasn't a good thing, but it was a natural thing at that time. And so basically what happens is I grew up, my mother was paranoid schizophrenic, and we were taken away from her when I was about, I say, 3 years old. And then we went and lived with a great-grandmother who was born in 1886. She couldn't read or write and really couldn't even tell time. So it was very, let me see, let me give her that. It was very difficult at the time, you know, growing up with no money, you know, don't have any money, not nice clothes, get beat up all the time, and not just being happy. But here's the thing. Very few people at that time were doing that well. And so you're around a lot of people, but some of them had a mother and dad at home. We didn't have that. But when I came to about sixth grade, my father got me married, and we moved in with him, which wasn't even worse because the stepmother didn't care for us very much. And so she made it even more difficult for us. And, but, you know, it gives you motivation because she would always knock you down, tell you you're nothing, you're a piece of trash, you're not going to make it. Well, all I would say to her is, Barbara, I'm going to make it. I don't care what you say, I'm going to make it. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just said I'm going to make it. So my brother and I, he made pro football, I made pro basketball. So we worked very, very hard trying to, you know, be successful in sports. And I didn't really wake up to do any schoolwork until my junior year in high school. I had a really nice teacher, Mrs. Thomas, my biology teacher. And so I did well in her class because she was nice to me and she would give me lunch money. I never had any lunch money, so if she needed something done, I would do it. But because she was my biology teacher, it came to a point where I would get an A for her and still do nothing for anybody else. And I would get C's or D's or whatever. It didn't really make any difference to me. But she said, well, Kermit, I know you can do the work because you get the highest grade in all of my classes. She has 5 different classes in biology, and I would get the highest grade. And the reason I get the highest grade is just to please her and make her happy. And so she says, Kermit, can you make the honor roll next year? And I said to her, Miss Thomas, I had never had a report card that good in my life. But I'll try. For you, I will try. So the next year I made the honor roll. And so by making the honor roll, basically I was able to go to college. And basketball, I didn't play basketball until my senior year in high school because I liked football and baseball and everything else. But since I had nothing else to look forward to, my best friend was a basketball star, and he had a car. He told me if I went out for the team, I could get a ride to school and a ride home. So I said, well, what time is practice? So I started playing basketball my senior year. Didn't get in a lot of games. A lot of games I never even got in. But because I had embarrassed myself a little too much, and I was a pretty good football player and a pretty good athlete, I said I better start practicing. So I started practicing, and I read a guy named Spence Haywood that he had a weight vest. He used a weight vest, and he was an All-American. And then I heard another friend named Dave Brown, who was on television every Sunday, because he hosts the NFL pregame show and the regular show, and he jumped rope, and he was a great basketball player. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get a weight vest, and I'm going to get a jump rope. And I started jumping rope. I jumped rope 10,000 times every night with a 20-pound weight vest. And I got so good so fast. When I went to college, I was a top 10 freshman in the country. From a kid averaging 6 points, maybe 6 rebounds, my senior year in high school, I became the top 10 freshman in the country.
Wow.
So it's just a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work. And this lady, Mrs. Thomas, have you stayed in touch with her? Is she still alive?
You know what? I have searched for her on Facebook. The students that went to school with me, we searched for her, and that was her name. She left because she was pregnant, so she had to be still probably around 30. So she's 13 years older than me, so she'd be 83, 84 probably right now.
Wow.
I searched on Facebook and asked everybody to look for her. Nobody could find her yet, but she changed my life. Her and a lot of other people changed my life. But she made me find out I had potential to do some schoolwork.
My goodness, that's a story that brought tears to my eyes. Thank you for that. So now that you made it in, you're at that stage where you made it into the NBA, you went to college, you went to Howard University.
No, went to American University.
Oh.
American. It's about 15 minutes from Howard, but it's in Northwest, very nice school, very good school. I used to live near Howard University, but no, I didn't go to Howard.
Okay, well, I'll go change Wikipedia when we get off the phone. I'll go.
A lot of things you can change about Wikipedia, but I don't worry about Wikipedia. I didn't write that. They don't really know my story. They think they do, but they don't.
What would you like people to know about you making it in life and what has happened to you in your life and where you what do you want people to know right from you to them, because they can mishear, they can hear information incorrectly, and I want you to tell everything you want to say about the good, the not so good, anything. I want to hear it all.
Well, I don't know how much time you have, but here's the thing.
Hours and hours. I have all
I
day.
don't have hours. But let me say this. Let me say this. One thing about college, when I got to college, I would study 4 hours every day. Now, I had never done that before, but I said that because I improved in basketball so quickly, I figured, well, if I do my schoolwork the same way by putting the effort in, I should do well. And then my girlfriend was a straight A student also. So she she said, Kermit, you were just always studying all the time. I said, well, I have to study because I am not smart like you. And I don't have the foundation education like you. But you know what she would do for me? She would basically look at my papers and say, no, you got to do this. This is not right. So I would do my paper, but I would study 4 hours a day. If I didn't have her, I wouldn't have had a great start at all, because you need to have found fundamentals, and I didn't have it from high school, but I did graduate my senior and junior year about 3.7 or 3.8. But I was studying. I got to learn how to do everything, and I would just make the effort, just like in sports. I tell people I wasn't a great athlete, but by working hard and doing things I knew nobody else was going to do. I don't think you find anybody else in the country that would jump rope 10,000 times with a 20-pound weight vest. Now they might do that. And I used to run the stairs with my weight vest. And I would lift weights every day in college, about an hour a day, and then go to practice. So my day was always scheduled, routine. I knew exactly what I was going to do every day. And it was never a day like a Thursday where somebody said, let's go to the movies. There was no such thing. I would never think about going to the movies. I had to do my schoolwork, or I had my running or my lifting. I mean, I was down. I just knew what I wanted to do. And schoolwork, I did really well. But see, people kid me. Well, you did so well. Well, I tell them, no, I'm not smart. I just studied, just like basketball. See, if all of a sudden I didn't work hard in basketball, I wouldn't have been as good. But I knew I was going to be good at basketball, because after not playing really well, as I said, in high school, I was a top 10 freshman. Then the next year, I came in second in the nation in leading the rebounder. Only guy that beat me was a guy named Artis Gilmore. He's a Hall of Famer now. And number 3 was Dr. J. So I felt very honored to be number 2. But the next 2 years, I won the championship, rebounding championship. They wanted me to come out early, the pro ball, but I was having so much fun in college. I said, I'm going to stay in college. So I stayed in college. They offered me a lot of money. And funny thing, one of my teammates, I had to borrow 50 cents from him to wash my clothes after talking to the coaches saying, I'm not going to go, I'm going to stay in school because I'm having a good time. So that, if you know that's who I am. I enjoyed, those are the best 4 years of my life, really. I mean, I loved college and basketball, and it was perfect. I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect. I would never want to go back there because I don't think I could be as perfect again. Because I could get injured. So I got drafted by the Lakers. I was a 5th player picked in the NBA draft, 1973. I was named first team All-American. Bill Walton was one. I think Jamal Wilkes, Doug Collins, and somebody else. I was first team All-American, which was a great honor. And I was academic All-American first team.
Wow.
Junior year and senior year. I won postgraduate scholarships for my grades. I was later named academic All-American Hall of Fame, which was an honor. And I played about 9 years in the league. And, I hurt my back, though, my first year in the league. And so I wasn't as good as I would have liked to have been. I averaged close to maybe 10 points and 9 rebounds or something for my career. But the first 3 years, I sat on the bench. First 2.5 years, I sat on the bench because the Lakers had a lot of Hall of Famers, and I couldn't get off the bench. But I had another person helped me named Pete Newell, a very famous coach, who was the general manager for the Lakers at that time, took time to work with me. And he says, well, if you work with me, you'll be a starter next year. And I worked with him during the summer. He'd work me so hard. I'd go to bed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was, I mean, it was like it was like Navy SEAL training or something. But it was very difficult. But I was willing to do it because I wanted to get off the bench and see if I had enough potential to really be a good ball player.
Wow.
So after working with him, I became a starter in the NBA, and I first started, I think, with the Lakers. Yeah. Then I started with the Celtics. I started with the Clippers. Then I started with the Blazers. So it was a great honor to just to make the NBA and to be able to play. Then after that, I had a charity. I started the charity because for me, you live in Portland. The people in Portland were so good to us. I started the charity by telling. I didn't think I could play anymore. I think my days were coming, but I told the owner, Larry Weinberg, if I can play one more year, I'll donate my whole salary to a charity.
Wow.
And because the people in Portland have been so good to me there and my family, but they were good to all the trailblazers, and it was just good. It was just good. So the charity started in 1984, 1985. It's charity started, and the first probably 84, well, close to the first 10 years, all we did was work in Portland, help people in Portland. We did a lot of volunteer work with the inner city, with the schools of color. I don't think Harry Tubman, and I think it was King, and it was like 4 or 5 of the schools. And I worked along with Phil Knight of Nike. We got a lot of the kids free tennis shoes that they made the honor roll. And we did a lot of feeding programs up there. And then in 1994, my daughter was watching television and she saw the situation in Rwanda where 1 million people had been killed. And she told me, Dad, you got to do something about it. So I called up Northwest Medical Teams, which are in Portland.
Yes.
Right up Portland. I said, I'm going to donate some money. So I donate the money, but the president, I forget, Ron something, said, well, Kermit, can you go with us to Rwanda and work in a refugee camp? And this is during where people are being killed. And I said, well, give me the weekend and let me think about it. So I thought about it, and next thing you know, I said, I'll go. So I went to Rwanda with a group of maybe 15 doctors from the Northwest Medical Team. I worked over there, and that was probably, if there's a hell, that was hell times 10. Where 300,000 people with no food, no water, no shelter, no bathroom. Not for me. We stayed a little ways away, but those people suffered like I've never seen people suffer before in my life. And so right then I said, I'm going to start a charity in Africa. I'm going to help these people because I was doing, I wasn't rich, but I was doing okay. And it came to a point where I was 35 times to Africa. I built a clinic, built a school, started a school for the poor. I took maybe 40 doctors and nurses over to Africa on those different trips to give free clinics to the people in the slums. I worked with other orphanages like Mother Teresa's. I worked with them, and like 2 other orphanages. We would sponsor food, money, clothes, and medical care for them. And what else? I mean, we would feed maybe 40,000 people a year. We did a lot. It's so much, what happened, the reason I went to prison is because what I would do is sell different things like tennis shoes from Kobe Bryant signed, different things to raise money. And it came to the point where this one guy was selling stuff for me, and I would give him 20% from eBay, because I didn't know how to do eBay. I didn't want to be bothered with eBay, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, can I sell some of my stuff on that? I said, yeah. I said, but if you make a profit, you've got to donate some of that money to the charity. Well, without my knowledge, he started selling counterfeit software. Microsoft taught me software. And it came to the point where I didn't know that. So all of a sudden I get a call from Homeland Security. And he wanted to talk about the charity. And so I go in there and talk to them, and they start talking about this counterfeit software. I said, well, it's like asking me, Kermit, why did you leave your shoes up on the moon? I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't have the slightest notion, but because my name is Kermit Washington, and they figure I'm a big name, they thought I was involved in all of this stuff. So it just snowballed to a ridiculous situation where I didn't know what they were talking about, but because they came on TV and they said Washington is part of this big scandal. It was on ESPN and everything else like that. And I'm looking at the TV saying, what are they talking about? I didn't have the slightest notion. But then I found out what had happened. He had been selling all this stuff, and he had been donating about $2,000 a month for a year and a half or 2 years to the charity, because he was telling me that's a profit that a little bit of profit that he was making from the charity and selling the things on eBay. But him and his cohorts had been making millions, and I didn't know. So it got a big mess, and I got caught up in it. But here's a good thing. I'm just going to be honest with you. They asked me, will I take a polygraph test? I said yes. I took 3, and I passed them all. They're on YouTube. If you look up Kermit Washington polygraph test, they're there. They showed me hooking me up, doing all the different questions. They showed that I spent myself personally hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep the charity going. And the feds had said that, I didn't do that, but I did. They said that I was involved with the counterfeit software. I took that test, and I proved that it proved the polygraphs that I knew nothing about that, and a few other things that they said, and I passed them all the things on a polygraph. But you can't use it in a court of law. You can't use polygraphs in a court of law, but in the court of public opinion, yes, you can. So I just want people to understand that, we went through all of that, but I took a plea agreement, and it's a long story. It's not because of innocence or guilt, but it's because of a situation with other people being involved that are very innocent, and they went after them. They're smart. The feds are smart. You got to give them credit that they know what they're doing, because they've done it. And all of a sudden, I'm involved, and I've never even been stopped. I have hardly ever had a ticket in my life, let alone anything else. And I just got caught up in it. So my thinking is, I did the time, but I just want people just like you, if they want to see what the Fed said, I did nothing in Africa too, that everything was a scam. But if you ever go to YouTube and look up Kermit Washington in Africa and see it as part 1 and part 2, it'll show you everything, the clinics, the kids I sponsored for. So I sponsored like 25 kids for probably 10, 12 years. And it's not that cheap to sponsor them to go to school, the uniforms and everything else but I've done it. But see, here's the thing. I was always very quiet of what I did, because I am not a religious sort of person. But I think when you do stuff, you don't want everybody to broadcast it or put it on YouTube or say, I've helped 100 kids. No, you just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, I think that if I had been more vocal with it, people knowing publicly what I did, the feds wouldn't even have come after me, because they would have known that the people would have said, no, what are you talking about? Kermit, you said Kermit doesn't do anything in Africa? We're looking at something for 24 years he's been doing in Africa. What you have to look the whole situation. What con man, which they were saying I'm a con man, goes to Rwanda, works in hellish conditions, goes to Africa 35 times, builds a clinic, starts a school, feeds people, help women, with new businesses, pay for people's operations. But see, they don't want you to know any of that. And so me myself, I don't think I'm a criminal. I think I've done some really great things, helping hundreds of thousands of people. That's my feeling. That's what I mean. So my question is, how many people in the world, have helped hundreds of thousands of people improve their lives? And see, that sounds braggy. So that's why I never would tell people. But then when I have other people telling other people who I am,
Tell the truth. Look it up. Do your homework. And then after that, if you think I'm still a criminal, then I can live with it. But find everything. Find everything. And just like then you have some people say, well, you do everything for Africa. Well, that's not true. Because I lived in LA in Long Beach. There's some bad areas in Long Beach, or no, some areas that are not doing well financially. Well, I went there every month for years to the grocery store and probably sponsored about 1,000 meals every month for years. Nobody knew about it. But I have receipts. So I do have, so sorry, believe me, I have receipts every time I went. But the only person that knew was probably my manager. There's a manager there. And I told her not to tell people it was me that was feeding all these people. So, going to prison, I didn't, you know what? Prison's not a place to go.
Yeah.
It's not a place to go. But a lot of guys, they went there because they felt guilty. I didn't feel guilty. Not one minute did I feel guilty being in prison. I didn't want to be there, but I didn't feel guilty because of something I've done. I just knew that because of the circumstances, I got there. You want to get out of there.
Yes.
And I was lucky enough to get out early because of my age and the coronavirus.
Yes, I'm so glad you're out and you're safe. I think your volume went down. Is there any way you can turn up your phone volume for me?
Oh, is that any better?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay.
You have.
I probably have my hand over the part where the speaker is probably.
I've done that. So you've left quite a legacy already. And I know you're not going to let this 2 years in prison be your last hurrah. You're going to come out of this stronger and better, if that's even possible. Like I said at the beginning, I've known of your charity work in Portland, and you are my hero. You are a wonderful person. And I wanted you on because I never for a moment believed any of the hoopla surrounding your good name.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing you have to realize. One thing you learn when you're in prison, and not only that, in life, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, good or bad, you're going to have people that dislike you. They're going to dislike you maybe because of your color, or because of your gender, or because of your religion. You're not going to be liked by everybody. And even when they find out the truth, that doesn't mean they're going to like you. And a lot of times you have people that want to hope that they find bad things about you. And so you can't worry about them. So it's just like people, they say, well, Kermit, you this and that. Well, the people I help in Africa, none of them are complaining. They're complaining, they're upset because I'm not there anymore, and I keep them anymore. And you're right, I'm going to try my best to try to get back up to where I was, where I can help people. Right now, I can't help people. It's hard enough to help myself right now. If you get out of prison, it's like sending me back to when I got out of college, without a pro contract. Yeah, look, see what you're going to do. But I'm happy enough to have, family support. And I have always tried to help support them. So a lot of them are trying to help support me right now. But I'm going to start that podcast probably in a couple of weeks. And I hope that you're going to help me push the podcast. But the good thing is I know so many ball players that will come on for me and talk about, not only football, but basketball, baseball, or whatever. And that'll help me with the podcast. And basically Facebook and Instagram and all those guys, I can promote it like that. That's the most wonderful thing, Facebook and Instagram and all the other things they have out there now, because it's free advertising.
Absolutely.
So just like what you're doing, basically you're doing a radio show without having to pay for a lot of money for everything.
Yes. Unfortunately, they have to see my face.
Oh, they have to see? Oh, no, don't say that. Don't say that. But you know what? It's good though. I mean, the more people you get, the more interesting topics you have, the more people you have listening. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. I want you to know, from my heart to yours, that you paid your debt to society and your debt is behind you and you are free and clear. I just want you to feel totally.
No, I'm not free and clear. I'm in home detention. So let's say this. No, I'm not home for free, but let's say this. I'm just thankful to be home. Let's just say that.
Well, I feel like anytime anybody has done time, that society continues to label them or hold them back from certain things. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to know that I see you as you shouldn't have had to go through it, and you're out of it, even though you still have limitations, that's behind you being in there. And that
Oh, yeah.
that stigma is not you. You are much bigger than that stigma.
Well, I'm going to work my butt off. So I'm going to really put an effort out in all the different things I want to do, like motivational speaking, public speaking, the podcast, which can help. They can work hand in hand. And then hopefully they get back to training athletes again. I used to train so many of the NBA players. And so I've got to get my good name back. Right.
That's right.
So people will let me basically train them again. So I'm good with that. So, hey, thank you for letting me come on.
Can I tell you a joke?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I do comedy, so I have to end this with a little humor. So now that you've paid your debt to society, I have no doubt that you know how to rebound and power forward.
That's very good. I like that.
You can have it.
I like that.
Please use it.
You take care.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem.
Get out and support this wonderful person. He's a great human. He's done a lot for the world. Thank you so much, Melvin Washington.
Take care.
Bye. Kermit Washington. What the hell's wrong with me? I called you Melvin. It's Kermit.
No problem. No problem.
Bye, Kermit.
Bye-bye.